What's up, everybody? It's Lays This, and I finished the $500 freeze out. This tournament was pretty straightforward. There were some spots that were interesting.
Same exact, yeah.
Right? Wow.
Okay.
Nice one.
Thank you.
Come on. I think you have more than him now.
Yeah, not much.
Is this yours? This three?
Yes.
Let's start off. The first thing that happened was I got a good table draw. I really liked it. I saw people making mistakes. I had them boxed in. I really did. Like after a couple rounds, I really felt like I knew exactly where they were and exactly what type of players we're up against. Didn't feel like I had to worry about anybody too much, except for this one kid. Now, this one kid did get me in the hand. It was kind of interesting. I had 7-7 or 8-8, I think. He was in the big blind. I opened on the button. He called. The flop came Jack 6-7, relatively. One high card above my 8 bet, about 2,000, because we were at 800 big blind. So I'd make it 1,600 pre, and then I made a C bet of about 2,000. He ended up calling. We went to the turn. It was a Jack, so the board paired. I was really liking it. He checked, and then I was like, well, I definitely want the barrel here. I'm going to be getting good value out of a lot of hands. And definitely going to be getting some folds. So I went ahead and doubled the bet. I was trying to pot control a little bit here. We had quite a bit at stake, and it was a little bit early in the tournament. I had already doubled up to 60,000. He had about the same as me. So it was kind of big man on campus versus big man on campus. So not really ICM pressure, but just not really too much utility in us getting it in. So I ended up barreling because I figured my hand was a 2-bet street hand. I didn't bet the river. I went ahead and checked the river. I expected him to maybe make a bluff, and then I could call if I was a bluff catcher. This kid was smarter than that and knew that I was ready for that, possibly. Or maybe he had the Jack and wanted to go for full value. I checked, and he went all in. So, I really wanted to keep him honest there, but it would have been all my chips. So, he knew that probably, and it's possible he pushed me off there. However, a player like that makes that in the wrong spot. I could be slow playing a hand there. Possibly, under repping my hand. If I have ace jack there, I'd probably play ace jack the same way there. Set a trap, bet the turn for value, and then check the trip jacks ace high, just call, snap call. But in either case, I think it wasn't that big of a deal. Moving on, I recovered. I had ace king versus pocket jacks. The guy was all in for less. I picked that up. Then I was running decent. I had pocket queens, and the lady was all in next to me after I raised, and she had pocket jacks. Took that down. So, we're looking good. We're at about 67,000. Then we went to our third break. And then I came back, and I raced back my seat because I did not want to miss a hand. And I'm glad I did. I got lucky, actually. I would have missed, but the tournament was paused. So I was able to get my hand, and I didn't miss a hand. Well, the first hand I got was pocket jacks, and I'm like, just eating my sandwich. I'm like, oh, geez. So I was like, well, make sure I play this right because I got a sandwich in my hand. So, but I didn't want to look like I was trying too hard too. So I was just thinking, I was like, forget about the damn sandwich, play the hand. Min raising, because I wanted lots of action here with pocket jacks. The small big blind called me, right? And the flop came king 5-6. Opponent checked, and I bet. He ended up calling. And then on the turn, it came like a 7 or something meaningless. It might have been even an ace, but it was basically meaningless. He checked, and then I checked again because, I remember why I checked, because it was all spades on the flop, and I had a jack, and it was king high. So you're going to be doing a lot of checking and pot controlling there just because, the king's out there, and also because I had the jack high flush draw. I had a lot of equity for that, so we don't want to get pushed off that. So in either case, he checked the big blind again on the turn. and I checked behind correctly. The river came a jack, which was absolutely phenomenal. And guess what our opponent did? He went out and bet like 4,300, into this pot that was about 6,000. So it was absolutely marvelous. I paused for a little bit, kind of shook around, and then raised him to like 16,500, almost all his chips pretty much. And he snap called me, and he ended up having king five, two pair from the flop. He misplayed the turn. Man, that he took that one hard. After that, kind of went stagnant for a little bit, and then I got table changed. Our table broke. I got moved over to the table in the same room. This room was really cold, by the way, so the temperature of the room. So I got to the new table. Now this new table, I could just immediately tell was in a briar patch. I had a guy with a lot of chips that looked like he was gambling to my left. I had a lot of strong players. I had this guy drinking wine. I had seen him open with 7 deuce. Now listen to this hand real quick. I actually didn't write this hand down, but I just thought about it. So there was this guy, he had pulled off a 7 deuce bluff, right? He had raised pre-flop with 7 deuce and then bet the flop and then bet the turn, took it down. And he didn't relish in it too much, but he was obviously trying to show off. So before you know it, he has a glass of wine in front of him, and I'm thinking, okay, I get this guy's game, blah, blah, blah. So I get a hand where I 10 jack offsuit in the big blind, and he raises, and it gets to me. I'm like, okay, well, I'm flattening this all day, especially against this guy. If I flop something against this guy, I'm just going to let him bet away. I'm just going to check, call it off, because this guy's going to bluff it off. So this is an interesting one. So I call his bet pre-flop, and with 10 jack offsuit, right? I'm in the big blind. He's in like middle position, maybe cut off. And the flop is jack high, really clean jack high. So I flop top pair. So I'm like, here we go. I'm going to call him down. I'm going to call every street. I'll call up my whole stack. So I check. He bets. Pretty standard C bet with maybe a little bit of strength on it. So I call. Then the turn comes a blank, right? He bets like double that, maybe a little bit more, like 10,000, 11,000. I'm like, here we go. I'm like, I'm going to call this. I got like 38,000 behind. He's going to make a big bet in the river, and I'm going to call down. I'm probably not going to go all in, but I could tell he's, getting ready to make a big bet on the river. So I think the turn came a 9, and then the river came a queen. And I'm like, okay, I check. I'm ready. And I think for sure I got this guy. For sure I got him, and he checks. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll take it down. I flipped over, he has ace jack. I was ready to give him all my money, and he didn't take it because the queen saved me. Oh my gosh, what a hand, I was on the wrong road, but I got saved. It was just unlucky that he had ace jack there. He's gonna be doing that, so I put him in that box. So that was an interesting hand, so I added that in there. Because I happened to have that tough table. After that, I was like, yeah, I'm at a tough table. I already knew it. Freaking lost a hand against the worst guy there. I was like, great, well, I can't even beat the worst guy at the table. Tough table. Man, I'm going to shrivel up and die here if I don't get out of here. Sure enough, finally, the whole room breaks. The whole room. So all of a sudden, they're passing around bags. We bag up all our chips, and we're all walking single file all the way to the other side of the casino. I was like, hallelujah. And also the room was warmer. It was a whole lot nicer. Then we get there, and immediately, we have 13 bigs. We're not in like any success road here. We still got a lot of work to do. So I'm looking for a hand. I know I got to pick up a hand. Finally, I pick up pocket tens. I'm first to act, and I go all in. 13 bigs or 12 bigs or something, first to act, pocket tens. Shove it in. Everyone folds. I'm like, oh man, I'm not gonna get any action because I kind of want action here. And sure enough, the big blind calls me. I ended up having ace king. Classic flip. Well, the flop came queen high and turned a jack, and he missed the river. But I thought he hit a flush because he had 2 black cards, and I thought I lost for a little bit, and I was like, shell shocked. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I won. So we got that double, and that was good for us. That was huge. That was a good inflection point. So then, unfortunately, that was short-lived because I had picked up pocket nines and raised it up, and my opponent next to me, who I knew was somewhat tight, he went all in for half my stack. Now, even though I knew he was on the tighter side, he's still on the lower end, so he doesn't have like a lot to work with, so he's going to be pretty wide here. He doesn't have to have pocket aces, pocket kings, etc. So, and plus it's only half my stack, so we had to call there. Unfortunately, he had pocket kings, and we went to the flop, and he flopped a king. So goodbye, half our stack. I thought it was going out. We had no no chips, really. We were down to 8 bigs, and we're trying to find a spot. We didn't find a spot, and then we hit the last round. It was the end of the road. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I want to pick up a blocker. I want to pick up, a suited hand. I want to pick up a hand with good equity, a hand that's not going to be dominated, something that's going to save my day. So I'm looking, and honestly, I'm not a big fan of, King 5 where I did it, but immediately I picked up my hand, and the guy on my left just like looked at his hand, went right to his phone, and it just felt so genuine. And then the other guy too just gave the kind of like, I just felt like I got genuine reads that these guys are folding my left, and I'm like, well, 3 of these guys are folding, and I only got 2 left, and I got King 5. This is my spot. So, and technically, it was wrong per se because it was a couple pips off. It looks like it only does it with King 7, maybe King 8 plus. But if you're actually on the button with that hand, King 5, it does shove it. So because I knew there was other opponents were actually folding my left, my read actually put me on the button, which made the shove correct. I got it in, King 5, and got called by Ace 10. She flopped the 10 with the Ace 10, and boom, I hit the King on the turn. So that brought me back. That was my saving grace there, and then we went on dinner break. So after dinner break, we come back, and the blinds go up. I'm looking at 16 big blinds. This is how the end game happened. So 16 big blinds. First hand at 7-5 offsuit in the big blind. An opponent that was opening pretty prolifically and had a larger stack opened, and it folded to me, and I had 7-5 offsuit. 7-5 just has too many straights and it's just too strong to fold. I defend there. The flop comes Ace 4-5. I did hit the flop with middle pair. I mean, I liked it. I checked. And our opponent bet a very strong 9,000. And I thought about this. I went into the tank. I really thought that the utility of me not losing this 8,000 was huge because, I still have 12 big blinds if I fold here. So, that's a lot. And if I call there and lose, I'm instantly in the cooker. And plus, I still got to go through a river. So, fortunately, that hand has to be in a board. A really difficult spot I was in, unfortunately. So, the bust out hand just is a relinquish of that because I had an opponent that had just won a hand. He was really low stacked. He doubled up, and I just felt like this guy was feeling good, maybe a little ahead of himself, and his stack was just shy above mine. I really made it convenient for him to fold. There's lots of ICM now, and I really thought I could get him to fold. He didn't open too hard, and it felt like kind of gingerly. And I also noticed that my opponents to my left didn't seem like they were interested. So, it made me more likely to put the 7s in. I didn't see any red flags. So I went ahead and put the 7s in. Gets back to my opponent, and unfortunately, my opponent calls. I didn't want to see that. He took him a while to make the call. I might have tried to look like I wanted him to call a little bit more. Maybe he thought that was a reverse tell, so that he did call. I don't know. I tried to Hollywood it like, yeah, get it in. I'm going to win, to try to get him out. But that didn't work. And he called with King Jack, which I know that if I win this, mission 1 is accomplished. I will be in the money, just about. So this is the hand I got to win, and I'm ahead. Unfortunately, the flop came King high. He flopped a pair of kings, and I didn't improve. So that is the $500 freeze out. This tournament, I suffered 3 devastating losses, and I still almost made it into the money. So on to the next one. Hopefully we run better. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you checking out this debriefing. If you like this content, make sure you drop a like, follow, subscribe on any of my channels. I'll see you next time.